Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you so much for joining us for our webinar this evening. Thank you so much for being here. You're welcome. You're welcome to our webinar. Thank you. Please confirm that you can hear me. Can everyone hear me? You can hear me, just indicate in the chat box. All right. Thank you, Fatima. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here. You're welcome once again. I would like to welcome you officially to our Failing Forward webinar, Moving Past Regrets and Mistakes. It's a pleasure to have you all in our midst this evening. Thank you so much once again. Please go ahead to introduce yourself in the chat box. Tell us your name and where you're joining us from. We would love to welcome you. Please go ahead and do that. Drop your name and your location in the chat box so we can celebrate you, so we can welcome you. Hi, Hannette, welcome. Hi, Charlene from Canada. Hi, Ansi from Abuja. Nice to have you here, Ansi. Thank you so much for being here. Let's keep it coming. Let's keep it coming. We would love to welcome everyone. We'd love to get to know you, your names, your location as well. Hi, Olamide from Lagos. Nice to have you. Thank you so much for making the time to be here. You're very welcome. And Yola from Lagos. Nice to have you as well. Thank you so much for being here. Oak from Delta State. It's nice to have you. Thank you so much for being here. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome, everyone. We see more people joining in. Yes, as you're joining in, please just go ahead and introduce yourself in the chat box so we can welcome you officially. Would love to know where you're joining from. And, we are very excited about the conversation tonight. And this is one of those conversations where you're going to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So I hope you're ready. I hope you are good to go. And I hope that you are comfortable wherever you are. Hi, Hene from Ibadan. Lovely to have you. Thank you so much for joining us. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and introduce myself. I'm Boluwatife, the current community manager at Mental Drive Africa. And it's such a privilege to be anchoring the conversation tonight. I'm going to be here to make sure that things run smoothly and that everyone enjoys the conversation tonight. If you're just hearing about Mental Drive Africa for the very first time, I know we have some people that have been, a part of our community, a part of our organization, and they know us already. But if this is your first time hearing of Mental Drive Africa, let us tell you about ourselves. We are a mental health organization dedicated to promoting mental health awareness and improving mental well-being across individuals in Africa. So we do this by organizing webinars such as these, Instagram live conversations, fireside chats. We occasionally have outreaches as well, where we go to communities and schools to educate them about mental health and, to provide tools and resources for people to prioritize their well-being. Currently, we also have our own community, a mental health community, which is called Exile. And Exile is a community, it's a safe space for people to feel seen, to feel heard, and to feel connected. So when you think of people who are committed to your own mental health journey, you think of Exile. So Exile is that place that we recently launched a couple of months ago. And so far, we have been providing mental health support on a daily basis, thanks to our Exile frontliners who are keeping the community running. If you would like to be a part of that community, you should probably stay tuned to our social media pages because we are going to be opening up another cohort again very soon. So just stay tuned to our pages so that you get to, catch up on the updates. Welcome everyone once again. Our speaker is here and we're not going to waste too much time. I'm going to go ahead to introduce her and give her the floor. I hope you're ready where you are. I would encourage you to have a notepad and a pen with you so that you can, jot down a couple of things. And also if you have questions, you can note them down because there will be time for questions and answers as well at the end of the session. Today we are talking about failing forward, and I think it's a topic that everyone on this call can relate to. We've all failed. I don't know, but I'm speaking for myself, but I believe that everyone has failed at one point or the other. right? And sometimes we've made mistakes in the past that haunt us in the present. And, if we could rewrite the past, I'm sure there are certain things that we would want to change, right? But unfortunately, that isn't possible. But then how do we move forward, in spite of these mistakes, in spite of, some of the challenges that we've had in the past? Do we allow the mistakes to define us? Do we allow our lives to be controlled by regrets of the past? How do we move forward? How do we move past these regrets and mistakes? So that is the essence of tonight's conversation. And I would really love to applaud everyone for taking the time to be here, because it is actually one thing to register for a webinar. It's another thing to actually make yourself available for that webinar. A webinar as powerful as this that can even change your life and impact you in so many positive ways. So you guys are the real MVPs. So please celebrate yourself in the chat box. Drop in your favorite emojis, anything at all. Just, celebrate yourself, not just for registering, but, for also taking out time to be here. Welcome everyone once again. Right about now, I'm going to go ahead to introduce our speaker who is ready for us tonight. Please pay attention as I read her bio, and I will be handing over to her after that. All right, so our guest speaker today is Adedotun Eson. Adedotun Eson is a visionary public health leader, mental health advocate, and seasoned facilitator with over 15 years of experience in program management, health system strengthening, and executive leadership. She specializes in mental health, gender and disability inclusion. A minute, please. Yeah, she specializes in mental health, gender and disability inclusion, maternal and reproductive health, and leadership development. She's also a certified mental health first aid practitioner, CBT specialist, and emotional intelligence expert. She has led transformational initiatives that promote resilience, workplace well-being, and psychosocial support. She designs and facilitates capacity building programs for policymakers, healthcare professionals, corporate leaders, educators, and the defense sector. As a speaker, Adedotun has addressed mental health policy, emotional resilience, leadership, and workplace mental health on prestigious platforms. She works with government agencies, international organizations, and grassroots movements on policy, and community engagement. She also holds a master's in public health and multiple certifications in leadership, global mental health, and psychosocial support from esteemed institutions, including the University of Washington, University of Sydney, and the World Health Organization. Adedotun is also the founder and CEO of Mental Health with Ditty Foundation, promoting mental health awareness, resilience, and well-being. Ladies and gentlemen, please in the chat box use your clapping emojis to welcome our guest speaker for today, Adedotun Eson. You're very welcome, Ma. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, good evening, Boluwatife. Good evening, everyone. I will turn on my video in just 1 minute. Just give me a second. And I'm not sure if was that my bio you were reading or someone else's one?
Your own, Ma.
Okay, it's very
Very
scary.
powerful.
Very scary and
My God.
I'm under a little bit of pressure. Okay.
Why?
Okay, good evening, everyone. And thank you, Boluwatife. Thank you, Mental Health Drive, for this amazing platform. Thank you for the amazing work you do. So I'm very delighted to be here to have a conversation. When I saw the topic, trust me, that was one of the reasons I thought I should make out time to have this conversation, because it's very needed at this point of our life. And I believe everybody's dealing with one mistake, one thing that has happened, and they just beat themselves up for it. So let's have the conversation. Thank you for having me. So I decided not to make a presentation because, like I said, this is more like a conversation than a lecture. So please, I would appreciate everyone on the call. I see we're about 22 of us here, That's a very good number. So please let's engage with the chat box. Let us ask questions, let us contribute, and let us learn from each other. So it's not a one-sided conversation, but it's more of let's talk about what we're dealing with and how do we deal better and find strategies that are practicable depending on our current realities and our current environment, and we can cope better. So I will start by asking everyone, please, if you want to speak, you can raise your hand or you might use the chat box. Who here has never made a mistake? Is there anyone on this call that has never made a mistake? I have made mistakes. Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So I want to assume that our silence means we have all made mistakes, right? Okay, so the next question will be, who here has made a mistake that they wish they could undo? I have. I've made a couple of mistakes that I wish I can undo today. Awesome. Thank you, Aderunke. Please, can we just engage more of us? I have made a lot. Same here, Khadija. We're on the same WhatsApp group. Thank you. Okay, so let's break it down a little bit. I've made a lot of mistakes. So I think growing up, we have been taught, before I continue, Boluwatife, can I know how many minutes I have for this?
All right, Ma, you have about 40 minutes and then we'll take some questions and answers.
Okay, great. That's good.
Ma.
Okay, thank you for that. So I think growing up, we have all been taught somehow to think that making mistakes and failing is a bad thing. But let us first demystify the fact that failure is not a bad thing, and failure is not the opposite of success, but it's part of the learning. Does anyone agree with me? If you agree, just give a thumbs up at the chat box. So failure is not the opposite of success, but it is a part of success. Thank you very much. Yes, thank you. So the truth is, if we must really break this down, we need to start normalizing the concept around failure. So we have a lot of people that have made mistakes in terms of their decisions, the choices they've made in relationships, even as much as the kind of course they've gone to study in school, in terms of the people they've made friends with. But all of these things doesn't make you a bad person or that you're not good enough. But if you look at the trajectory, every decision that you have made, it might not turn out the way you want it, but you must have learned from it. So one of the first things I tell people is failure is an opportunity to learn. And not just learning, but learning that there's that way that you have done it is a different way, is another way of not doing it the right way. Did anybody hear that? So failure is another way. Yes, I didn't wish to change anything. It's always amazing. Thank you so much, Olamide. So failure is another way of not doing something. So you're just learning another way of doing not doing something. And it is also good to know that we all make mistakes. If we did not make mistakes as babies, we probably would never take that first step to walk. If you did not fall down as many times possible, you wouldn't know how to stand without falling. If you did not hit your leg on something, you won't know that you need to watch very well next time so that you don't repeat the same thing of hitting your leg. So we need to first demystify the whole concept around failure or making mistakes. It's part of the journey. It even makes the journey worthwhile because when you fail, and at some point you fail repeatedly, and at some point you now begin to say, "Oh, I made it through this series of failure that we think is a bad thing," and then the story becomes better because you can say, "This is what I tried before; it didn't work out, but I tried another way and it worked out." But every time we talk about failure and we say, oh, it's good, some people will now ask a question. What if you fail on something that you do not have a second chance to try again? What now happens? Well, many times you never know until you take that leap of faith. So, just to give that highlight that mistake is part of life. Failure doesn't mean you're a failure as a person, because that's another thing. We begin to allow those things that didn't work out right to define who we are. So anything that you have done, is anyone there? Okay. So don't allow failure to now define you as that failure. So there's someone I listen to a lot, and she keeps saying that if you have failed in a particular experience, it doesn't make you a failure. Probably you didn't do well in that experience. Doesn't mean you will not do well in another experience. We hear a lot of this, especially when it comes to relationships, when it comes to marriages. You hear people say, I'm a failure. I cannot hold a marriage. I cannot hold a relationship. I'm not a good person. No, that experience should not define you as a person, but it should teach you, should open your eyes that is there something that you have done wrong, and what can you do better? So please, let us have that at the back of our mind. Failure should not define you, but it should teach you, it should open your eyes. Another thing that about failure that I thought we should understand is that because something worked for someone in a certain way and it doesn't work for you the same way, means you are a failure. We forget to realize that there are other things that makes up that success for that person. The person's current realities might not exactly be yours. The person's way of life might not exactly be yours. The opportunities the person are exposed to might not be necessarily yours. The kind of family the person has might not necessarily be the type you have. The support system, the resources, the strength of that person might not necessarily be your own strength. So when someone you assume that someone has succeeded, or the person is a success in a particular field in a particular way, and you try the same way, it doesn't work for you, doesn't mean you're a failure as a person. It just means maybe that's not the right way of you doing that thing, or maybe you don't even have to do that thing at all. There's another thing that I feel that also puts a lot of pressure on us these days as a people, and that makes us to begin to define ourselves, define our success, is what we see on social media. Can anybody witness to that? Can I get a witness to that? You can just unmute and say yes, so that I know I'm not speaking to myself. Okay, I see. Thank you. Thank you, guys. So many times when we see the way the social media is in our faces now, and the only people that are maybe as presumptuously celebrated are people that are doing very well. And then you start looking at all of these trends. This person is doing this, person is doing that. Why am I trying the same thing? Is not working. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. Unintentionally, even unconsciously, you begin to define yourself as not good enough, as being a failure. Why is it that this person started a business the same time as I did? This person is already getting tons of followers. But what's happening to mine? Nobody's listening to me. Nobody's talking about my own stuff. I'm definitely not doing well. This thing is not for me. So I'll give a very practical example about myself. Because for me, I always tell people that I am my own number one prototype that I can use to give an example. I remember when I started talking about mental health, I think about 3 years ago. So I started a page on Instagram. I had planned my social media content and all of that. At the top of my head, I was busting a lot of mental health content that in my head, I feel like once I put out the video, maybe like 1,000 likes, comments, and all of that. But I started, and for every video I put out there, even people that are my loved ones or my friends, they don't even like it. And it will go for days and won't even get a comment. I did that for a couple of months, and I started asking myself, Ditty, are you sure this calling is for you? You better go and sit down, because people that, if it's for you by now, you should have been all over the place. But then I had to reorientate my mind and redefine what success means when I started getting direct messages from maybe one person and say, oh, Ditty, I saw your video. It was as if you were speaking to me. And that for me, I started thinking, maybe that's why I'm doing this. Maybe it might just be for one person and not just for the whole world. It might not be something that everybody will accept. So I stayed there. I kept doing it just because of that one person. So at the point where we start seeing things on social media and it feels like there's this silent competition that exists, and for every time you look at the social media, you would put your life at par with that, whatever you have seen. I'm like, okay, you're not doing well. And then you already write yourself up. For every time you do that, you becloud your thoughts, you lose your vision, you lose your focus, you lose the reason why you're even doing whatever you're doing because of that pressure. And before you know, it starts impacting on your outlook to self, your outlook to life. You start losing focus on why you started whatever you're doing. So the first thing we need to understand is that failure is different from everybody, and success is also different from everybody. What success means to me might not be what it means to you. The first place to start is identify what does success mean to you. And for every time you identify what success means to you need to also look at what is the journey you need to go through to get to that point where that's your definition of success comes to reality. Does this make sense? So I have a problem with online conversation because I just feel like I'm talking and nobody's hearing or nobody's. Okay, guys, are you there?
Yes, we are, ma'am.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for reaffirming. So, with that little overview of what failure is, and then mistakes. But I want to ask a question. Is there a difference between failure and a mistake? Anyone, you can just unmute yourself and speak. I like to hear voices. Or should I call someone? I see somebody, Akinwale Mayowa. Is there a difference between failure and a mistake? Okay, Olamide, please carry on.
Yes, so I'll say hello again. Yeah, so I'll say the difference is basically what you define it as. It depends on you, basically. I think. Yes.
Okay, I like that. See, it depends on what definition you have put to it, right? Any other thoughts? Anybody? One more person, please. What's the difference between mistake and failure?
Okay, for me, it's my apologies, I was
Okay.
trying to unmute at the time. So failure could be a breakdown in a system, it could be you not doing something well. Then for a mistake, it could be an error, whether intentional or unintentional. So an error in something or whether a process. So that's failure. Difference between failure and error for me.
Okay, I hear it from a point of maybe tech. I'm just looking at from your response, Mayowa. Yeah, I'm hearing failure, maybe something is system, then something that you have made an error. So from your definition, I can see that if you make a system mistake, it can lead to a failure of the system. Is that what you mean?
So when I mean system, it could go beyond the tech aspects. Yeah, maybe probably I should use the word process in doing things, and so that's just a breakdown. So system could be in process, could be talking to process or a procedure. Um, a system could even be human. So so a breakdown in human system and all that, a breakdown in whatever you tend to achieve.
Okay, I like your responses, and I like some very beautiful responses on the chat box. I see someone say failure is the opposite of success. Okay, let's stop there. So first, I would say that there's a thin line between a mistake and a failure. For me, I feel like mistake is more subtle. When you call something a mistake, that means that you're given a room for it to be corrected. That means there's a room for you to do it better. But when you say it's a failure, it sounds more like a permanent thing where there is no way out of it. Does anybody agree with me? But it's not absolutely true. So the thing is, the first person said that it depends on what definition you call mistake. And they are different. It's not absolute. So mistake can mean different thing for different things. But let's talk about us as a human being in terms of our choices, in terms of our decisions, in terms of our relationships, in terms of what we do, in terms of our mindset. So a mistake can be something that you intentionally or not intentionally do that can lead to a wrong outcome. So I take, for example, I I am in a relationship with someone that I know that normally, no, I did not know that the person has come from a broken home. And personally, I just speak without thinking about it and say that, what's wrong with all these people that come from broken home? That's how they will be misbehaving. And they will not even talk well. They don't even know anything. They don't even know what love means. You might say that from a place of where you are coming from, unintentionally and sincerely. It doesn't mean anything to you saying it. But then, if the person you have said this thing to will have a different interpretation of it, because the person has come from a broken home, the person knows what it feels like, and the person might think you're attacking them. That can be a little mistake. But then if you don't correct, if that person doesn't speak about it for that time, and you keep doing it because you don't know that what you're doing is wrong, or you just want to trigger the person, continuously you can do that to that person, and it can lead to the failure of that relationship. Does anybody agree with me? So I'm trying to give a practical example of how you can move from a mistake, intentionally or unintentionally, to a failure, and the friendship will collapse, the relationship will collapse. But does it mean that you as a person or that person is a failure? No, the relationship dynamics failed because two people that have made mistakes did not talk about it, did not work it out, were not able to change or to move for the next person, caused the collapse of that relationship. So moving forward, if you go into another relationship and you did not resolve why the other relationship failed, you might probably go into that new relationship with the same mindset. And then you now have a series of broken relationships. And then you now tell yourself, I'm not good with relationships. I cannot hold a relationship. So I'm a failure at relationship. So this is how human interactions can be defined in terms of relationship and mistakes. But what I want to say today is it doesn't still define you. Because when you make a mistake 1, 2, 3 times, and you as a person do not sit back, take a retrospect and see, why is my life like this? Why are things happening this way? Then take responsibility of making sure that you don't make the same mistake, so that it doesn't lead to another collapse or a failure of your relationship. Then that way you just feel like you're not ready to change. Then it might become a permanent thing because you have not taken responsibility, you have not taken accountability of ensuring that subsequent relationships don't fail. Does this make sense? And can anybody relate to this?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
responding.
Thank you. Okay, so I just thought we should start normalizing that fact that, one, failure is a part of the journey. Failure is a part of success. Failure will help you to become a better you if you are intentional about it. If you begin to look back and say, okay, where have I gone wrong? When you begin to take responsibility, one thing that we have come to realize is that we as humans, we are very quick to judge the next person. We're very quick to say the next person did something, but we are not so quick to look back and say, you as a person, me as a person, what have I done to contribute to the failure of this dynamic? What have I done? What have I thought? What have I said? How have I reacted? What was the mindset I had that has contributed to the failure of this dynamics? So for every time we talk about failure, let's look at it as a part of the journey. It's not about you. It doesn't define you until you let it define you, and you have the power to change the dynamics of that situation. And then social media is an illusion For every time you allow social media to dictate the way you see yourself, the way you see your situation, then you can begin to term yourself as failure. But then there's a reality check. Even successful people, these people that we have termed successful, because they did not show us the journey, they do not tell us the journey. They have not told us the process they went through. They have not told us how many times they fell. We all feel like successful people don't fail. They have failed many times before they became winners. They have failed many times before they become this picture that we look at and say, oh my God, when am I going to be like this? So when we try to say, okay, I would like to be this, I want to attain what somebody else has attained or what this person is doing, it's also good for us to ask, how many times did you fail? What did you do? Or what did you go through before getting to this place? That way you start to see failure as in a different light. So when it comes to regrets, and that's another pinpoint that I think this conversation is very, very important about, is many of us, we have so many things that we regret. But let me ask, for every time we sit down and regret about something that has happened, can we really do anything about that situation when it has happened?
No.
Someone spoke. Yes, no? No, exactly. But we find ourselves getting stuck in that regret. So you have made a decision. I like to use relationship because I think every one of us, we have some level of relation, either your friendship, your family relationship, your significant other, your colleagues, your classmates. You have relationships with people. We get stuck in that point of regret because we start thinking, why did I do? What would I have done better? Why didn't I do this? Sometimes you beat yourself up. Sometimes you don't forgive the next person. And then you get stuck there. Please, let us look inward. If something has happened, there's really nothing you can do to take it back. But you have so much, excuse me, you have so
I don't know. Is that your? And that should be inside now.
hello. Okay, someone was speaking. I didn't know if I should carry on or.
Please carry on.
Okay, so back to
Yes,
what
please
I was
carry on,
saying.
ma.
Okay, thank you. So we get stuck in that point where we've done something or something has happened, and then you don't want to get out of there. You beat yourself up. You don't want to talk to the person. You don't want. But for every time you get stuck in regret, there are so many things that comes to mind. You overthink the situation. So for instance, you have had a bad friendship. Maybe you were friends with someone and then it didn't work out. And the friendship didn't end in a good note. Maybe the person had hurt you or you hurt the person. Because many times we think that somebody has hurt us, we forget to look inward and say, maybe we are the ones that have actually hurt the next person. So we need to start looking that way. And then we start overthinking, what if I had done this? Oh, what if I had made this decision? What if I had done this earlier? You see, that what if mindset will keep you stuck in that place because you're not going to move past that. But you can't stay there. So you have made a mistake. The mistake has resulted in a failure of a relationship, and then you get stuck there. You might tell, I mean, for me, I've had so many experiences like that where I'll sit there and I'm like, I don't even want to have friends anymore. Then I'll ask myself again, Ditty, how are you going to do life by yourself? So instead of getting stuck there thinking about it, and many times you do that because you're so afraid of judgment. These people will think I'm the one that is a bad person, or they'll start looking at me as a terrible person. It's okay. They can look at you as a bad person, but you have to prove to yourself that you're a good person, right? All of these things you're just is happening in your head. Why did I even become friends with this person in the first place? Why didn't I know that this person was not good for me? Then in my head, I'll ask myself, what if that person is also thinking the same thing? That why did I become friends with DT? And when DT is a bad person. So we don't need to get stuck in regrets. Things have happened. And even as children of God, when they talk about that forgive and forget, people, we always have this conversation where you say, is it really possible to forgive and forget? And I tell people the first thing you need to understand is this thing has happened. It will hurt you. Sometimes it's going to leave a lasting scar. Okay, I will address that, Akinwale. Thank you very much for that question. People will hurt you. They're going to leave some scars that will never go. You will live with it, you know. But the point is, if you stay there, you're hurting yourself. You're letting somebody live rent-free in your head, and you're not going to move past that. It's going to also becloud your mind to enjoy other good relationships that you have, because then you have trust issue, you are afraid of people judging you, you compare yourself with others from time to time, you believe that failure is your personal identity, so you want to stay away from people. And then you begin to have a lot of emotional toil. When you see those people, you hear about them, you have anxiety, you have self-doubt, you begin to see it now looks like everybody's winning but you. The truth is that when things happen, suck it in, think about it, analyze what went wrong from your own place of self. Don't try to psychoanalyze the next person, because you might not be able to do that. But look inward, take responsibility for what you have done. Excuse me, if you have been the one that gave yourself out too much, then you learn to have more boundaries. If you're the one that have been taking and not giving, learn to also give, so that you will not look like you're taking advantage of people. Begin to pick the lessons from that place. And then first thing, forgive yourself. For every time we make a mistake as adults, we beat ourselves up so bad that it looks like even if you had cane, you want to flog yourself. Forgive yourself. Forgive yourself for making a mistake, because first of all, you're human. Because you're human, you must make mistakes. It's part of our life. It's part of our existence. So forgive yourself. When you're able to forgive yourself, you're able to forgive the next person, because that way you start being empathetic that when two individuals, two situations come, trust me, mistakes don't come from just one end. It might just be in different grades, but trust me, everybody has contributed, no matter how small. So forgive yourself for the part that you have contributed. I tell people that you think, oh, somebody took advantage of me. If you did not put yourself in a place where people would take advantage of you, they wouldn't. So why don't you check yourself and say, next time I'll guard myself, I'll have healthy boundaries so that I will not expend myself. Just before this meeting started, I saw a post that I downloaded on my phone. There were two candies on a table. One was unwrapped, opened on the table. I don't know if someone else has seen that. And the other one was wrapped, but there are two, the same candy, but one was wrapped in the foil and the other one was open. And then we saw them ants infested the one that was open. And the caption of that video was that if people don't know what's in you, if they're not exposed to what you have, they will not take advantage of it. It was so apt. It was so apt because I started thinking about it. Truthfully, many times we're the ones that have opened ourselves up for people to hurt us. We have been the ones that have opened ourselves. We're so sweet, so sweet. You're sweet to everybody. And all the ants are going to infest on you and your sugar will end, right? So think about what has happened instead of regretting the thing that's happened. Take it as an experience. I've learned, I've understood myself better. I know who I am. Begin to find purpose within all of that chaos and don't get stuck there. So I just want to give a few things that we can do to not get stuck in regrets, because you can't stay there forever. First thing is, like I said, you have to forgive yourself. And forgiving yourself means that you're going to remove that person from your heart. Because when you keep someone in your heart, you know the person is not hurt. You're the one that will think about it. You're the one that will start crying. You're the one that will be mad. You are hurting yourself. You're the one going through this. So forgive yourself and try to let the person go. Empathize with the person. And for every day, I tell people forgiveness is not a one-off thing. Forgiveness does not happen absolutely. It's a conscious daily effort to say, I want to take this person out of my mind. I want to take this situation. I want to forgive myself every day. Yes, it has happened. I made a mistake. Move on. And I have cried, I've beat myself up, but move on. What do I gain from it? It helps you to identify you. It makes you stronger. It makes you learn and teach people how to treat you. The next thing is you need to start reframing the mistakes as lessons. I've said this thousands and one time. Every time we make a mistake, it's a lesson. Remember when a child was growing up, when you tell the child, don't touch fire, don't touch fire, they will not listen to you, most of them, until they put their hand in that fire. When next they see it, they will run away. That's the lesson. Unfortunately, sometimes, like I said, some of these mistakes might be very, very grave that it will leave a lasting impact, but still learn from it so that it doesn't happen again. The next thing you need to do, instead of asking why me, ask what can I do, what can I learn, what can I do differently next time. So when someone breaks your heart, I know many of us have received a lot of breakfast, dinner, lunch. Some people are even taking brunch now in between, all of that. But every time, instead of asking, why is this always happening to me? Why don't you ask yourself, how do I put myself in this place for this to stop, to keep happening? What can I learn? How can I be a better version of myself so that I don't keep myself in that space that I keep making the same mistake? Then one thing you should also you should also have at the back of your mind is that mistakes don't define you. I've said that again. Mistakes, failure, they don't define you. They do not say this is how Ditty is. No, they refine you. But the only time you begin to see that refinement is when you start leaving that space of that mistake and reworking it to your own favor. I tell people that if you're looking for someone who is who is who is I don't know, hit rock, you know, when you hit rock bottom and there's only one way up, right? Is either you stay there or you go up. I'm that person. And because I learned from a lot of mistakes, a lot of things that was supposed to pull me down. So you turn it around. So that people know that, oh wow, after she made that mistake, look at her. Or after he has made that mistake, look, instead of staying there and start thinking that, oh, my life is over. If you say your life is over, it's going to be over. Remember the power of affirmation. Remember the power of our words. Remember the power of our thought process. Remember the power of positivity, the power of gratitude. You know, for every time you make a mistake, every time things happen, even be grateful that it happened, that you didn't take your life. So those mistakes that you think, oh, you will start regretting and stay there. What if you had died from that mistake? What if you lost a limb? What if you have lost something? But be grateful that, okay, thank God, no matter how bad this situation is, it didn't take my life. It begins to change your mind. So before I continue, I think I have spoken for so long. I want to get your feedback, your thoughts. Is there something that stood out for you? You can leave it on the chat box. Is there something that you would have said, oh, are you sure this is true? Because I don't like for everyone to agree with me all the time. I do not have any monopoly of knowledge. I just share from my own experience, from what I have seen. So is there anything that has stood out for you? Is there something that you thought, oh, can you expatiate more on that? Before we now take, I think I've done like 20 something minutes. Boluwatife, please, how many minutes do I have left?
About 10, 15 minutes now.
Wow. Okay. Okay, so let me just run quickly. Practical steps. What can you do? What can I do to move past our mistakes, our failures, as you term it, and our regrets? What can you do every day? What are those things that you need to do? The first thing is acceptance. I tell people, when something happened, don't live in denial that it didn't happen. Don't lie to yourself that it didn't happen. Accept it the way it is. I have goofed. Ditty, this one you have goofed. It has happened, you know, because many times we stay in that funk in our head that I can't believe this happened to me. No, it has happened though. Don't worry. It has, don't just, even if you believe it or not, it has happened. So just accept it. There's no time machine. It's only going forward. You are only moving forward. You're not going back to go and read. It has happened. When you have that mindset of acceptance that, yes, this thing that happened, this mistake has happened, then that way you now forgive yourself for whatever you have done, whatever you have contributed to make that happen. The third thing, pick out your lessons. Take out what you need to take out. Remove what you don't need. Filter it and keep the lessons. Hold them, guard it to your heart every day because they will come handy. They will come handy. The next thing, after you have identified the lessons, what are the corrective methods or actions you need to take. This is that one place I think is most difficult and we can dwell a bit, few minutes. When it's time to take corrective actions, you need to understand that one size does not fit all. What works for Ditty might not work for Fatima. What works for Fatima might not work for Jessie. What works for Princess might not work for Lizzie. Have that, take corrective action. You start small. Let me tell you, for every time you're trying to get out of a regret or a mistake, you can't hear anything. Sorry, is she the only one not hearing? Oluwafumlayo says she's not hearing. Can anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so probably it's a network. Okay, so when we are trying to take these corrective actions, like I was saying, please be kind to yourself, be kind to your heart, be kind to your mind, one step at a time. But I will tell you for free that for every time you make 10 steps, it's okay to take another 1-2 steps backward, because it's not a linear space. And I'm going to take this from an example of a place where maybe someone has really hurt you so badly, and this person is someone that you regard so much. Some days you cry so hard. Some days you'll be like, it's fine, let's just keep going. Some days you come back, you hear this person's voice, you go back again and you're mad. Just take it small step at a time, but be intentional that you want to change. You'll be intentional that I want to be a better version of myself. I don't want to get stuck and stay here, because for every time you stay there, you're going to, just like in the Yoruba adage, you say you are closing your eyes for a bad person to pass. While your eyes are closed, how would you know if a good person has passed? So yes, it might be difficult for you to trust again. It might be difficult for you to put yourself out there. It might be difficult for you to take in a lot of people, but please, one step at a time. Allow yourself to still make allowable mistakes. That's the word I'll use. But take those corrective steps one day at a time. Stop the replay button. Please, as difficult as it may sound, it can also be easy. You keep replaying. This is what this person did to me. My God, how can I go past this? You sleep. You can't sleep because you're replaying. Can you begin to replace those thoughts with positive things, different things? Can you get busy? Can you start doing things, other things? So for every time you see that you're beginning to dwell on those regrets, can you take some other things? Maybe you want to watch a movie, you want to listen to different. Yes, very difficult, I must tell you. That's why for every time you want to change something, you need to get something that is bigger than that to replace it. You can't leave your mind in a void. It's not possible. That's the mistake people make. You want to stay there, okay, I want to change, but you're not doing any other thing. So please try to replace those thoughts with something. Me, when I was going through my own very difficult time, what I started doing was work. I was doing every work that comes my way. It might not be an absolute good coping mechanism, but at the time it worked. But while you're trying to do other things, it helps you to figure out what else you do. And before you know, you get distracted, because that's the whole idea, getting yourself distracted. Because if not, you see that replay button, it will continue. But is it going to go away forever? It's not going to go away forever, because it depends on what the situation is. But then if you are able to distract that thought gradually with something that interests you, with something that you like, it might work. So please, please, please. And one last thing before I take questions and we have a conversation, is you need to build emotional resilience. This is one thing I feel many of us don't have the capacity to. And emotional resilience means bouncing back after a very difficult emotional turmoil. So you fail forward. That's the word. Like, okay, you have failed, just keep moving. Don't go back, because there's no way at the back. Just fail forward. Try to understand your emotions. Try to build this part around your mind so that you're able to move past those emotions. You have to develop a growth mindset. For every time you fail, for every time you make a mistake, what is the next step to go after that? And this comes from the fact that you have picked the lessons and you're moving to the next thing. My favorite thing to do is gratitude. So gratitude is like for everything that has happened. It could have been worse. If this did not happen, the worst thing would have happened. But thank God that the worst didn't happen. This is how much that has happened. That way, it helps you to start reworking your mind. And then positive affirmations every day. My life is better. I'm not a failure. For every time somebody says you're a failure, you tell yourself, I am not a failure. I won't be a failure. If you have to look at the mirror every day and speak to yourself, speak life. Words of affirmations, they carry power. They change the way you see yourself. They change the way you see the situation. They help you to look at life differently. And it helps you to walk beyond the failure and the mistakes. So, what I will leave us with today is we all make mistakes. Mistakes are not going to get out of your life as long as you exist, but it can be minimized if you understand yourself, if you are true to yourself, if you do not compare yourself with others. Be your own competition per time. When I tell people be your own competition means what were you yesterday? How do you want to see yourself tomorrow? What actions do you need to take to see yourself? Not how you want to see yourself being the next person, you know? So be your own competition. That way you're going to take life easy on yourself. And for every time you make a mistake, look out for the lessons, look out for the learnings, look out for the things that it's going to do to you and help you be a better version of yourself. Regrets do not make you grow. It keeps you in a box, it keeps you in a cocoon, and it makes you lose out on other opportunities that exist. So please don't dwell on it. But like we have said, you know, the replay button will keep coming, especially if someone has hurt you so bad. Forgiveness is one of the most difficult things to do, but it is doable. If you determine in your heart that every day, I forgive this person, I forgive, you can even say it out, I forgive this person. Yes, would you forget? I don't know if people forget 100%. I don't think so. But I know that you can forgive absolutely. And until you get to that point where you see that person, it doesn't mean anything to you anymore. You can see the person and not feel hurt, and not feel pain, and not feel anything. One last thing, I have heard this question many times. So if somebody should hurt you, does it mean that because you are forgiving the person, you should allow the person still in your life? No, I do not subscribe to that. But does it, giving the person space is good for your mind, it's good for your mental health because it can help you to minimize the impact this person might have again. And because you can't read the other person's mind, you don't know what their thought process is. You don't want to give them the opportunity to your heart again to cause another form of harm. But you can give space, but you can still forgive people and give them their space if you have to. But there are some family members that you cannot run away from, but they've hurt you. You can also build some level of boundaries around your heart, your space, and your life. So that way you don't keep hurting yourself. So on that note, I'll stop now. Let's take some questions, contributions, comments, and then if I still have anything to say. So thank you so much, Bolu Atife. I'll stop for now.
Thank you so, so much, ma'am. That was a very, very insightful session. And I'm sure everyone on this conversation will agree with me. Please, can we drop our emojis? Can we drop something in the chat box? What stood out for you, out of everything that she has said? Like I said, when we started the conversation this evening, that tonight you're going to be learning, unlearning, and relearning. And that's exactly how it was. So many lessons have been shared. For me, I think it's important that, the power of self-forgiveness is really something that stood out for me there, learning to forgive yourself, learning to pick up the lessons from the mistakes and move forward, regardless of what has been done in the past, because there is nothing for you in the past anymore. You just have to gather up courage, take up the lessons that you have learned, and then use that to influence your future in a positive way. The importance of positive affirmations too is something that I'm a huge advocate of. It helps you to reframe your mind, your thinking, your mindset, which I think can be a very powerful tool for healing forward. Thank you, everyone. You can drop your questions now in the chat box so that we can take questions and answers. I'm going to start from the very first question that I saw while the session was going on. And the person is asking, what could be the cause of repeated regrets? Regrets in different situations, and you have taken steps to do a root cause analysis and address the root cause. So what could be the cause of, repeated regrets? Could there be another way to analyze this? You're muted, ma.
Okay, thank you, Maiwa. I think that's a question from Maiwa. And yes, so when you say repeated regrets, many times it's not like the situation has happened repeatedly, but you have stayed in that space where you are not able to move past the situation. Yes, you have understood what the root cause is, but when you it's just like when you do a root cause analysis, you have found out what the root cause analysis is. That's what's the cause of the problem. You need to now know how do you deal with that root cause analysis problem. So the first thing is, when you look at this situation, it has happened, like I said. What can you learn from it? Why did it happen? If you pick that as a lesson, okay, this happened because I did not take care of myself. This happened because I did not allow this, I didn't tell these people how to treat me. This happened because I did not define my boundaries. That's your lesson. So for you to move past that regret, stop beating yourself up. It has happened. Try one step at a time. Don't put yourself in a space that will always remind you about what the situation was, because a root cause analysis cannot be done repeatedly. If you have done it well, you're not going to find another thing again if you keep doing it. So the first thing is forgive yourself, take your lessons, and try every day not to put yourself in a space that reminds you. Just unlock that pause button, because it will keep coming back over and over again. And then if you keep making the same mistake, then you need to heal. You as a person, you need to actually now see that maybe the external situation is not the problem, but you as a person is the problem. And then maybe that healing needs to happen within you so that you can move past the situation. Maiwa, I hope I was able to answer your question.
Thank you so much, Mayowa. I hope that you were able to understand what you said. I hope that answers your question. Aderonke is raising her hand. I believe she would like to ask a question, so you can go ahead and unmute
Okay,
yourself.
so I'm sorry, mine is actually not a question, as though it's to add to what our facilitator just said, because I actually experienced that live. When I left the abusive marriage I was in, and I was trying to heal, the first thing that my therapist at that time said to me was that you also need to ask yourself, what did you contribute? Now, in contribution, I wasn't violent. But what were my contribution? I didn't have boundaries. I was quiet. I swept issues under carpet. I was isolated. I didn't cry out for help. So these were the roles that I played. So they now began to teach me how to assert your boundaries, how to say no, how to speak up for yourself, and all of that. So sometimes too, like she said, we also have contributions. We also enabled some of the ways with which people treat us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Aderonke, for that contribution. And yes, she did mention that, acknowledging your own part, the role you played, in the mistakes that you have made, which will really go a long way in how you move forward. Thank you so much for your contribution. Moving on to the next question now. Hope is asking, what if you keep doing other things, but it keeps coming because it's not easy replacing with positive thoughts? Okay, our speaker got locked off for a minute. I'm guessing it's a network situation, so she will be back in a bit. But while we are waiting for her to join in and take the remaining questions, you can keep your contributions coming in the chat box. Tell us what stood out for you in today's conversation. What was the highlight for you? What is one thing that you really learned? Okay, I can see Anita. Anita says, thanks, Ma. I need to stop the replay button. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You need to stop replaying the mistakes over and over in your head again. You need to find a way to stop to stop that replay button. Thank you for sharing that, Anita. Hope says, need to be kind to myself, create boundaries, and maintain it. Yes, absolutely. Boundaries is one of those things that will help you, move forward and move past regrets and mistakes. Ansi says, what stood out for me, accepting what has happened. Yes, get your lesson from it and move from it. Absolutely, Ansi. Thank you so much for sharing that. All right, our speaker is back. I was just reading the second question that we have before you got logged off. So
Sorry, the internet got me out. Someone was calling my phone and I'm using that for internet.
Thank you so much. So Hope is asking, what if you keep doing other things, but it keeps coming because it's not easy replacing it with positive thoughts? I'm guessing this is in response to when you mentioned, reframing the mistakes and then practicing, positive affirmations. So she's asking if you keep doing other things, but then these thoughts keep coming and, she's finding it difficult to replace them with positive thoughts.
Okay, so like I said, it's not that easy. It's not an easy step. If you're unable to help yourself, get professional help. That's one thing. I like that Deronkesh had mentioned about therapy, and I keep telling people that therapy it's magic. It's life changing. So if you have tried things in your own way, in your own capacity, and you're not able to help yourself, speak to a professional. Speak to someone that you can trust, because you might actually need a hand holding to heal from it. That's why I said earlier, it depends on the gravity of what has happened. There's some things that you cannot forget for the rest of your life, but you can walk your way past it. You can distract yourself. You can replace the thoughts with something else. But if you're not able to do it yourself, please get support. It's always helpful. So I hope this helps. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I'm really sure that, that has answered the question in some way. Oh, and if you do need like further assistance or guidance, you can always reach out to us at Mental Drive Africa. That's why we are here, to provide mental health support and then to connect you with people that, can assist you in the areas that you do need help. All right, so moving on to the other question. Chizom is asking, I have a question, but it's rather complicated. This, can I get a one-on-one? This is because I believe I'm the problem and don't know how to deal with that. All right, Chizom, that's okay. Please reach out to us at Mental Drive Africa after the session, and we'll find a way to get you a one-on-one. Thank you so much.
Yeah, and if I can also chip into that. So,
All right.
like you said, these are very important conversations. So if you can also reach out to Mental Health with Ditty Foundation. It's also we have those one-on-ones and you can get a hand holding. So yeah, I'm sure she would share the details after the meeting.
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much. All right. If you have any more questions, please go ahead and drop them, as we'll be wrapping off soon. I think I see one more question here. Okay, Victor is asking, what kind of past mistakes will make a lady that I have interest in always have negative views about people and say bad things about them, such that it has made it difficult for me to establish a good bond? I don't know if that question is right.
Trauma. So if I hear Victor, you're interested in a lady that doesn't see positivity in anybody. She has trust issues. She doesn't believe anything will work out. That's why I said initially, if you don't heal from a past trauma, it's difficult to move past it. So what you can do to support her, if you're really interested, be empathetic with her, support her to get help. People need to heal, and that's why you find a lot of failed relationship, because people have not healed from the past one. They take all of those bitterness, all those pain to the next one, and he sees that, and it looks like the person is not a good person. The person needs to heal, and past traumas, that terrible, deep-rooted past trauma that people go through, that will make them see their outlook to life will be different. And also remember that we all have different capacity. What I can deal with because of my own strength and my exposure is not the same. Another person will go through the same thing and lose their mind. So just be empathetic with her and ask her to get help if she's interested. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that response, Ma. I hope that answers your question, Victor. Do we have any more questions? If you do have questions, you can either unmute to ask now, or you can drop it in the chat box. Thank you so much, Ma, once again. Personally, for me, this has really been like enlightening and insightful. I think a lot of the times when we talk about failure, a lot of people tend to see it as, oh, successful people, they've not failed, or maybe they tried it first and it always worked for them. But then if you look behind the scenes and they narrate their stories, you realize that they have failed over and over and over again before they now eventually, succeeded. Miriam, do you have a question? Okay, I guess not. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. It has been our pleasure to host this conversation. Like I mentioned, this is one of the things that we do here at Mental Drive Africa to keep promoting awareness about mental health and to keep raising awareness and helping people to improve their mental well-being. And we hope that this session has been as amazing for you as it was for us. In the chat box, you can see a link to our feedback form. We really, really appreciate feedbacks. Please take a minute to fill the feedback form. We want to know how the session was for you so that we can do better next time. And tell us what stood out for you, which part of the session was your favorite, what was the major highlight for you, and what would you like to see going forward. You also have like certain topics or interests that you would like us to talk about, or a conversation that you'd like us to bring. You can also put it down in the feedback form and get back to us on that. I'm going to go ahead to give our guest speaker, Adedotun, some few minutes to talk more about herself, although I've introduced her a bit, but I'm sure she would like to talk more about herself and our work that she's doing in the mental health space, as well as our organization. Please go ahead, Ma.
Okay, thank you. Please disregard whatever she read earlier. That's not me. This is my real face. So I'm Adedotun, like she had mentioned. I run Mental Health with Ditty Foundation. We are all about mental health awareness, advocacy, and support. So we also provide psychosocial support. And our focus goes across school-based mental health program, workplace mental health program, and community-based. So basically, that's what we do. We are on social media as Mental Health with DT. So the DT is DITTY across all social media. And if you want to contact us, we have our phone numbers and emails on our platforms. If you want to speak to someone, if you really, really, really are going through something that you hope to share, we are very happy to listen to you. And if we are not able to support, we'll have a channel of referrals that we have to ensure that you have an holistic mind. So please keep your mind and your mental health a priority. It's your responsibility. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Ladies and gentlemen, can we please appreciate our guest speaker in the chat box, send that emoji, Stella, thank you, for taking the time to be here with us today. She could have, decided to use her time to do some other things, but she chose to give us that time today for the purpose of this webinar. So please, Stella, thank you in the chat box. And before we wrap up, don't forget to fill the feedback form. It's right there in the chat box. And you can also follow us at Mental Drive Africa. We are on Instagram at Mental Drive Africa. We are on LinkedIn and TikTok at Mental Drive Africa. And we are on X at MD_Africa_. We share a lot of, mental health tips on our social media pages. And then you also get updates, about some of these webinars that we are hosting. For example, we're having another Instagram live very soon, this coming weekend. And, if you want to know what it's about and how you can be there, you can just follow our pages. Mayowa says, thanks, MDA. Your sessions are always spot on. Thank you so much for that feedback, Mayowa. And that's right, ladies and gentlemen. You can trust us at Mental Drive Africa, where your mental health is concerned. Cynthia also says, this was an eye-opener, the one I never knew I needed. Thank you so much. Wow. Thank you for that feedback, Cynthia. And we are absolutely glad that you were able to join today. Thank you, everyone, once again for joining. And please do have a wonderful night rest, a wonderful week ahead, and continue to prioritize your mental health. Thank you, everyone. Good night.
Life is like a big merry-go-round.